Hello guys, my name is Juscelino Cândido, IT architect for HCL Software, and today we're gonna talk about orchestration command line interface. Alright, so what is the OCLI, the new OCLI? It allows me to run commands on my master domain manager. Okay, and this the functionality, the CLI, the command line, was introduced at 10.1 Fixpack 1. So before we had two different CLIs. So we had conman for plan, so daily plan commands like show CPU, rerun job, confirm a job successful, right? Those are plan conman commands. And then I had composer to perform CRUD functions, so remove, add, edit jobs within the database. With OCLI, it's everything within the same command line. So I would start the syntax by typing OCLI, and then if I want a plan, a conman command, I use plan. If I want a composer command, I use model. Model is not yet available. It's going to be available on the next release, but I'm just stating for us to be aware. Conman traditionally was only able to run on a fault-tolerant agent. We had clients that tried or do take the command from the FTA installation and runs remotely without the FTA in place. We had a more or less a command standalone, a command standalone, command composer back on the older versions, but our preferred method now is to use OCLI to access the master domain manager remotely. Okay, let's say I don't have OCLI comes installed by out of the box on the installation. I have OCLI on my dynamic agents now, but the main differentiator is that I can download the OCLI binary standalone, okay, and to access my master domain manager. And another main functionality is that the parsing logic is now within the OCLI, not on my master domain manager. So there's much more advantages. It won't overload my my master. It's the performance wise is much better. The parsing logic is within the OCLI now. Okay, and a couple of samples: conman submit a job string versus conman versus OCLI command. So pretty much they're more or less similar. It's just that I'm just replacing command with OCLI plan now. All right, so to start using and benefiting from the CLI, the very first step is either I configure my OCLI on a dynamic agent that I have on my environment, or I can download my OCLI again standalone. And on the bottom of the slide you can see both the passport advantage numbers for IBM clients as well as the name for HCL on Flexera. Okay, so those packages are for Windows, Mac, Linux, but they are also available, for example, on AIX. All those platforms are supported. To recap, OCLI, the main commands for the CLI, more or less over 20 commands for command, the command replacement. They are very much the same or similar to what I used to have with command, and also introducing model. It's not yet available, but those will be the options that I have to do composer commands, which is my model. Okay, okay. So I got the OCLI, and the most important, let's say, config file, or the only config file, is this config.yaml, where let's break up by 4. For dimensions, the file is composed by environments. One of the benefits here is that with one config file, I can have more than one environment. So if you have test, dev, and prod environment, I can configure them all in a single file. Okay, and the location, as soon as I type OCLI plan, hit enter, it will create a configuration structure. So the folder as well as the config.yaml file, and that's located on the home folder of the user. Usually /home/user/.ocli for Linux users, or Windows C users and then username .ocli as well, uppercase. Okay, and what do we have on the file? The most important commands, parameters is the JWT and my master domain manager address. Okay, and there's also a flag for log setup. I can quickly change from information to debug. So I can, in case I have some issues, I'm able to debug just changing one option. Okay, and that's right there, a sample of my config file. And one more time, as soon as I type OCLI plan, the OCLI will create the structure for us. And on the right side here, it's a sample of my config file. Again, JWT, we're gonna be checking out how to get that JWT token, as well as I need the hostname and port for my master domain manager. This is usually on port 31116, right? Is where I'm gonna need the connection with on my master domain manager address. All right. Before we proceed into our demonstration, I want to cover two more functionalities of the OCLI, newer functionalities. Also, I mentioned OCLI model and OCLI plan, and then I will also cover a bit of OCLI contexts. This is another syntax to help to facilitate managing multiple environments. So new, I can start by creating multiple environments. So OCLI new workload automation dev is OCLI new workload automation prod. So I have 1, 2 on the same file, and I am able to list, remove them, and also change parameters all within the OCLI. I could open, of course, config.yaml, change there, but I can also change parameters within the OCLI and also switch. Okay, this is very easy for scripting, very handy for scripting. Let's say I want to create a script to check all the status of the CPUs on the 3 environments. So I can have context switch. So show CPU, and then context switch to my dev environment, show CPU again, and then context switch one more time. So it allows me to keep moving between environments, right? And streaming from OCLI, this is another high point with OCLI versus Composer. 3 main points here: multiple object types. Let's start with multiple object types. This is the ability of OCLI to have multiple objects on the same file. A quick recap: with Composer, if I want to extract, let's say, jobs, schedules, and CPUs, right, and workstations, I had to run the Composer more or less 3 times. Composer create jobs from all jobs, Composer creates schedules from all schedules, Composer creates CPUs from all CPUs. Here, I can have all the different definitions within one same file. And when I do OCLI model add or replace, I can reference that file, and OCLI will understand which is which. Okay, which definition is a job, and then it will check that $sign folder you see there, $sign var table. So everything that goes here is variables. Same for job string, and goes on. So again, the ability to have all the objects within the same file, multiple object types. All right, and moving on, cross-reference through objects, a very nice functionality, because here now I'm able to, let's say I have a job string. The issue we used to have with Composer when I Composer add multiple schedulers is that on a new environment is that one scheduler may not have a job dependence or a dependence that was not yet added to the plan, right? So now I'm able to OCLI, as soon as I do OCLI add or replace, OCLI is able to go through the file, and we're going to store in memory. So we're going to wait for all the jobs to be either added or reviewed, so I don't get the error when I'm missing a dependency, for example, on a job stream. Okay. And managing loop dependencies. This is similar to what I was talking about. I may want to add a job string that has a dependency of another job string, which was not yet added to the plan, right? So what the OCLI will do is you're gonna add the job string in draft. Let's say the dependency jobs in draft state, and then I'm able to replace the dependency, so it won't error out. Okay, but of course, if the job is not there, I might get an error. But again, our job string will be added to the plan. It will not error out like it does on Composer. Okay, and even if the dependency is not there. Okay, and so that was a quick overview on the streaming from OCLI. Those is a bit more for the model, which is not there yet, but will be on the next release. And now let's go into our demonstration. We're gonna be setting up the OCLI and running some commands. All right, so let's start with the configuration of the OCLI. I already downloaded the binary, the zip file from Passport Advantage or Flexera, and let's extract here. And now I should have just two folders: binaries, bin, and licenses. Under bin, just one file, ocli.exe. Okay, opening terminal, and that should pop up PowerShell OCLI plan. That's the command I'm gonna run, which will trigger the config file creation pretty much. So let's switch tabs, OCLI. So under this path, C users, the username .ocli, that's where the OCLI for Windows will create out of the box the config file and also the logs folder to troubleshoot. Okay, so that file right here is the one we're gonna be configuring our first master domain manager. Okay, I had it open here already. So I just opened with Notepad++. You can see here the structure of the config file. Let's start by, as this file I can create for multiple master domain managers, okay? It comes with one, let's say, which is the default. I will change the name to HWA test, default context HWA test. We just have one, but now I need the configuration for OCLI to understand where to connect with, okay? So some important points, connection, of course, host and port. I need to know my master domain manager address, where I'm going to connect to. Host, that's my master domain manager address. And then the port 31116. That's the standard WebSphere port when I install my master domain manager, 31116. Okay, same on my environment. And now I need the JWT. Okay. Let's go to DWC real quick. I'm already connected. Under the user icon here, manage API keys. We're going to create one API key. I have to select the engine first if I have multiple on DWC. Add new. Let's give a name, OCLI test, submit, and then let's copy this and save. Otherwise, as soon as I hit OK, I will not be able to recover this key. Okay, so under JWT, I will paste my key. And one important point is this insecure option. By default, false. By default, OCLI will not connect to master domain managers that have self-signed certificates, for example. So you have to change it to true. Even though mine do have a valid certificate, I would just leave it as true for us to be aware, right? Because some of your installs right there probably have self-signed certificates for the master. So we're gonna leave it true. And save. Let's hit save one more time. That's the bare minimum, okay, to configure. All it took was literally 3 parameters. Let's go back to the PowerShell. I will, to the CMD, I will make it bigger. OCLI plan show CPU. Let's take a look on the show CPU, and that's it. That all my workstations, the workstation that I have on my environment, pretty much the same as conman, right? You see, nothing major has changed. But let's proceed and play a bit with OCLI. Notice I have my limits at 50 on all my workstations. So OCLI plan, I will change my limit on in double quotes all to 60, and then no ask as well. And then let's see so you can see it does accept at pretty much as command, also the no ask to bypass the question. Do you want to proceed, all right, with the CPU? Yes or no. And no ask is very handy. Again, very similar. Let's check the jobs. So if I want to check out the jobs, I could run OCLI plan show job. We'll check for all the jobs on my environment that has the state successful. Okay, so all the jobs right there. Let's rerun one of the jobs. I know one job name by heart. Plan rerun. I don't know the entire job string or workstation, so I'm gonna ask you rerun everything that has playbook 02 at the end here of my name. Look for all the folders. Rerun, and it does found only one, so it reran. If I want to see that job, plan show job, and then same. Let's look for all the jobs with play as a key word, and here it is my rerun that I just did. Okay, so multiple commands I just ran, and notice the syntax is more or less the same as command. Okay, and that should be it. To close, I will show a bit about the OCLI context, which is one of the latest additions for the OCLI. The ability to add or create or delete new environments. So here I have HWA test, if I'm not mistaken, right? If we go back here, HWA test. Let's add one more environment. So OCLI context new, and then HWA prod. Enter. Oops, I forgot the path. OCLI context new HWA prod. Enter the URL. You see it's already asking me for the address. So this is the MDM IP, and that should be it. Okay, so already created the HWA prod context. If I go back to the config.yaml, let's reload. I now have the one here I just added. So HWA prod, HWA test. Here, and here is what I passed, 10, 10, 10, 12, added S443. Not all the masters is on 443. Usually I would expect 31116. But in any case, the environment was added. Back to my command prompt, OCLI, for example, context list. Notice I have 2, and my default one is HWA test. I can switch. So context switch HWA prod, and then I'm just switched to prod. Again, back to test. I went back, and to close, there's one, I can also change parameters. If I do OCLI plan SC, observe I have my CPUs, but I have this header here. Okay, there's one setting that I can hide the header. So I can do, for example, OCLI context set HWA test. So I'm gonna change HWA tests, and I have a parameter called show copyright header, and I'm gonna tell it's false. And now that modification already happened on config.yaml. Okay, so if I go back here, reload the file under HWA test, we scroll down, show copyright header, it's now false. And let's plan SC. You can see now the same show CPU command without the header, right? So those are some commands on how we can work with OCLI. OCLI context is very handy to switch environments on the fly, right? Work from your dev, test, and prod, all within your workstation. Very handy and fast. Okay. And hope you guys like it. That was orchestration command line interface. Thank you. Have a great day.